Well, we have reached the end of this roundtable. I think that you would agree with me, dear participants, that although there are many differences, indeed, among all of these cases that we have presented from truly around the world, there are many aspects that all of them agree about, and that is the protection of those that are suffering most, trying to avoid the loss of jobs as much as possible and to keep businesses going. So financial support is something very important. That financial support that local governments can provide is obviously very tied to the support that local governments need to get from other spheres of government, like the national level. Let us not forget the importance of solidarity and international aid, also very relevant. The need for innovation, be daring, and also proximity as a very important point for us to work on. And I think that is something that both the Local Economic Forum that we promote and our own committee on this topic are working hard to pin down and develop policy in this sense. We hope that we can continue learning with you, but now I would like to give the floor to two of the international partners that have been critical to our work in this area and also in the co-organization of this meeting. So I would like to give the floor to Andrea Agostinucci from UNDP Art to give some closing remarks, a wrap up. It needs to be quick, dear colleague, but the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emilia, and greetings to everyone. And thanks in particular to the panelists that actually I think provided us with some very rich and interesting insights. And I would like actually to take it from there and to start with a quick and obviously non-exhaustive reference to some of the cases that have been presented, just to show, I believe, how important and strategic can be a proactive role of municipal governments in maintaining and reactivating local economic circuits. This is done obviously through a broad diversity of support measures, but I find that there's still part of a quite coherent and integrated vision, and this is a very important element to underscore. Just to quickly mention a few, again, non-exhaustively, in Bogota, Sevilla, elements about preserving and stabilizing productive ecosystems and targeting support to upgrade local value chains, creating business linkages in essential and heavily affected sectors. In Chefchaouen, Mayor told us about supporting strategic products and sectors for the local economy, like tourism, handicrafting, promoting at the same time green and circular economy practices, enabling shorter supply chains, proximity markets, supporting informal sector organizations. In Sheffield, interesting elements on supporting the upgrading and diversification of unemployed workers' skills. In Amsterdam, interesting attempts to apply innovative solutions, including on environmental approaches to face job creation challenges. In India, the idea of enabling local sourcing of labor by multinational companies and facilitating at the same time licensing for small and agritourism businesses. And I could continue for many more. I mean, it's obviously a huge array of interesting and very relevant measures from different angles. I've tried to condense a bit and structure some of the topic discussed in the form of a few key takeaway messages, including from the standpoint of UNDP, being UNDP, as you might know, technical lead agency for the socio-economic recovery pillar of the United Nations Development System COVID response framework. So also possibly an additional element and interesting interest from that side. Now the crisis we're facing is obviously having a huge impact in terms of loss of jobs and livelihoods. This is hitting in particular the most vulnerable. Just a striking figure that informal economy actors making up to 60% of the global workforce. This is hitting life of marginal urban communities, informal settlements and slums, and other figure over 1 billion people living in there worldwide. So obviously this bears this bears huge implications in terms of inequality between countries and in particular within countries. It risks broadening, it's already broadening gaps in access to services, employment and income opportunities, and widening the boundaries and depth of multidimensional, increasingly I would say multidimensional exclusion and marginality. These effects, obviously beyond severe individual and households level impact, are particularly disruptive, and this is, I think, is a key point, on local communities and put a strain on social capital and cohesion, right at a time when social capital and cohesion constitute critical elements, critical assets, I would say, to leverage resilience and effective response capacities at the local level. In this situation, we need to build back better. This is said a bit everywhere, but building back better means applying truly transformative approaches that concur, I would say, in the first place, to the reactivation and to the resilience of local economies through inclusive and sustainable recovery processes. And this requires, in turn, and I would say to some extent also entails a certain shift in paradigm from macroeconomic, from a prevailing focus on macroeconomic policies and individual support measures that are much needed, obviously, to ensure business and incomes continuity, to a set of more integrated strategies, policies and measures that are prevailingly devised and implemented at the territorial level. In other words, it is important, it is crucial to regenerate and preserve local systems conditions for better unlocking and directing local resources and capacities towards such sustainable and inclusive recovery trajectories. Local governments, obviously, it has been largely shown in our discussions, have a key role, more than key role to play in leading the recovery of local economic development systems, and they can do so combining, as it has been, for example, clearly expressed and shown by Mayor of Sevilla, immediate and more urgent mitigation and compensatory measures with the possibility to drive more strategic and forward-looking socioeconomic recovery processes and trajectories. Another key point, this role of local governments creates, I believe, a huge opportunity to apply a diversity of alternative economic models and practices. Which
1 minute, as we will lose interpretation any moment now, my dear
sure.
colleague. But
including
one
SFC, green and circular economy, as well in social and technological innovation solutions. I will just don't list any economic implications of that and just move to a last point. It is important to put resilient local and urban communities at the center of recovery efforts. Participation, engagement of a diversity of local stakeholders, elaboration of integrated community-led strategies and solutions that can be made integrated and part of broader policy and programmatic responsive as part of a multi-level governance frameworks. And there again, dialogue, participation, civic participation, a basis to rebuild trust and a basis for enhancing social cohesion and a renewed social contract between citizens and local authorities that I believe is a key element to successfully facing the consequence of the crisis. Let me just, a last word to join you, Emilia and Emilio, our colleagues, in expressing and reiterating the importance of a process, the World Forum of Local Economic Development process in which we are jointly engaged. Our today host UCLG and FAMSI alongside UNDP, ILO, Arufogar. It is a long-standing and I believe quite unique process based on a wide network of alliances at different levels, cutting across global policy dialogue and concrete actions at the local level. This process has allowed us to put LED at center stage, to position and to move, I would say, the boundaries of LED as a key recognized approach for the localization of the 2030 agenda. Now we are obviously in different situations, in different circumstances, but there is an opportunity to really apply this body of knowledge to address the issues associated to crisis response from a more specific territorial perspective. Thank you very much, Emilia.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that before we lose the interpreters, we give a fair space to our colleague also, Pierre Martineau Lagarde, to be understood by everybody. And he's from our key partner as well in this file, the International Labour Organization.
Thank you very much, Emilia, and thank you very much for bringing the ILO in this conversation, which has been very interesting, very challenging, and also full of energy when we listen and hear of all the commitments that our colleagues have put on the experience share. I think it would be fair to say that everything we are here for is new, and this is dramatic in a sense, but it's new about the impact. We have not seen a crisis of that magnitude for a long time. I think it's new also because of the roads which we are going to take in the future, and we have probably already sketched some elements of the report. I mean, the figures we have shared and the figures that you have also shared, I think clearly demonstrate that the impact of this crisis is of nothing compared to what we had seen in the previous years. Impact on the people, and a number of lives are threatened, poverty is on the rise, jobs are also challenged, and companies and enterprises are really in difficult situation. I think the road ahead of us is new in many ways. I mean, we already see a number of measures, mitigating measures that have been put in place for the very present time, but there will be the second phase and the third phase maybe after. And I think we have to keep that momentum going if we want to address the response. And I think we have sketched three elements of that response. I mean, the critical aspect of public services and public investment in the response, and of course the resources for local governments articulated with national and international resources would be key. The second element of this response, I think it has been mentioned several times, is the importance of local economic development, the role of local actors in shaping their own future through that, including through social and solidarity economy. And lastly, I think the third thing, which is the importance of preserving, protecting the business environment and the business structure, and I think a number of examples have already been mentioned for that. In that process ahead of us, I think there will be a key word, which is dialogue. I think this dialogue is a good example of that. In the ILO, we strongly believe in social dialogue, and this is first, and it's very important, social dialogue to build trust. And the recovery will require trust because there will be a number of conflicting interests, evidently, and this trust will be essential. It will be essential to share knowledge, as we have been starting to do, and also to make and to move towards decision. So I look forward to continue this road with you, with UCLG, with all our partners and friends that I was happy to meet again after our meeting face-to-face in Durban. And I'm sure we will continue this road together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear colleague. Well, we've come to the close of the session. And I only look at Emilio. I don't know if you have anything that you would like to comment, or you just want to receive the congratulations for this very enriching session, Emilio.
Yeah. Gracias a vosotros, a todos los que han participado, y a los traductores, que creo que ya es hora de dejarlos descansar.
Eso es. That's what I think as well. But it has been really, really very, very interesting. Thank you to all the partners. And let us see each other again very soon. We will be talking about gender. We will be talking about public servants behind the public service provision. Please follow our series. There is still a lot of work to do, and we hope we are creating a community that will continue exchanging practices like Amsterdam was proposing. You can always count on UCLG and all of the partners to continue this process.